Okay, so my scan is over and I'm here now at the assets page. And as you can see that we have one asset has been scanned. We can see that the asset is running Ubuntu, and the skills that you need to hack into this asset is novice. Now already from this you can see that Nexpose show us much more information than Metasploit community, and it's a much more advanced vulnerability management framework. We can see that we scanned one target, it's Metasploitable, and the site is global. Let me zoom in. It's running on Ubuntu Linux 8.08.04. We discovered no malware and 177 exploits, 308 vulnerabilities. Remember, with Metasploit community, I think we only discovered 8, only one exploitable vulnerability and 8 modules that can be used. Here we discovered 308 vulnerabilities, so we discovered so many more vulnerabilities and exploits. You can see that there is a risk factor assessed to this and the last time that the scan was done. Now if we go down, we can see that the operating system that we discovered, again it's Metasploit. We can see the software that is installed on the target computer. So not only the services that's running on ports, we can see actual software installed on the target computer. This can be very useful after we hack the computer. So after we manage to hack into it, it's very useful to find local exploits that can be used to increase our privileges. For example, if you got a normal user and you want it to become a root, then you can use a local buffer overflow to increase your privileges or to do other kind of stuff. So these are very useful in terms of post-exploitation. If we go down, we'll see the services that's installed on the target computer, just like Nmap gave it to us. We can see that HTTP is running, DNS, and so on. If you click on any of these services, you'll see that it'll give you more information about it. For example, it's a HTTP service, a description about it, and the ports that it's running on. So we can see that HTTP is running on port 80 and on port 8180. Now let's go up, and if we wanted to have a closer look on the vulnerabilities, we can go to the vulnerabilities page here, and you can see we have a graph here about the vulnerabilities categorized based on their risk factor, and here they're categorized based on the skill level needed in order to exploit these vulnerabilities. And in here, you can see a list of all of them, and we can switch between them using this right here. Again, this, if there's any malware, you'll see it in here. And if there is an exploitation, you'll see it in here. Now, all of the top vulnerabilities here don't have an exploitation using a tool, but they are ordered based on their risk. So these are very risky vulnerabilities. And then as we proceed through them, the risk will be a bit less. So you can see here it discovered that VNC password is password. So we can go in and try to connect using VNC. Now VNC is a service very similar to remote desktop. Basically, it will show you the desktop, and it'll allow you to gain full access to the target computer, just like remote desktop. I'm not going to show you how to do that. Very simple. But it's telling you here the password is password. Now it's also telling you that there is a backdoor running, and we use that already. It's telling us that it's running an old version of PHP that can be exploitable. Just an old version, actually. Now let's look at something that can be exploitable. So I'm gonna click on this to order them by the exploit. And you can see that all of these have an M logo, which means that they can be exploited using Metasploit. You can see here we have the remote shell service that we use, and there is the rlogin service here that can be used as well that we already had a look on. So let's click on something that we haven't seen before. And here you can see a description of this vulnerability. Again, you can see the port that it's running on, and you can see why it thinks that this particular target is vulnerable to this exploit. If you go down, it will show you how you can exploit it. So there's 3 different modules that can be used to exploit it. It doesn't really have to exploit it. Sometimes you just see modules that can be used to verify the existence of this exploit. But basically, these are modules associated with it. And if we click on this, it'll take us to the Rapid7 page that we always used to see when we Google stuff. And we see the module name where we can just copy and paste it in Metasploit and show the options and then use this exploit the same way that we've seen it in previous videos. Again, when you go down, you'll see references to this particular exploit. And at the bottom, it'll show you the solution on how you can fix this exploit. So for this one, all you need to do is just change the administrator password and not use the default configuration. Another useful thing is the reports. So this framework allows you to generate reports for each scan that you do. And there is different types of templates for the report. So if you go on create report, you can see that there is an audit report that contains a lot of information, detailed information for the programmers or for the technical people. Or you can use an executive report, which has less information and it's made for the managers or for the top level people that don't have much experience with technical stuff. You can select any template you want, call it anything. So I'm going to call this Metasploitable or Metasploit. And you select the format that you want. So it's set to PDF here. Then I'm going to select the target scan that I want to generate a report for. And I selected my Metasploitable. And then you save and run the report to generate the report. You can also get this to generate reports automatically every time, because as I showed you, you can schedule reports, you can schedule scans, and you can also schedule an automatic report after each time a scan is done. So for example, if you're scanning every week, you can also generate a report every week, every time that scan's done. Now let me just download the report and show you what it looks like. As you can see, it has the date, it has the title, it has all the exploits that have been found, but this is the executive report, so it has small details about the exploits and more graphical stuff to show the executives the risks that has been found and how critical they are. So as you can see, Nexpose shows you much more detail and it's much more advanced. It's directed towards bigger companies, bigger infrastructures where you need to always make sure everything is up to date and everything is installed and does not have any exploits.